Do you think Jamaica's sprint queens are just about gold medals and Olympic podiums? Think again. Because behind those photo finishes and national anthems lies something far more powerful, an underground empire of wealth, influence, and strategy built by Black women who quietly control more than just lanes on a track. They've turned endorsements into real estate, fame into political seats, and scandals into second acts that pay even better than the first. You've cheered for them on the world stage. But what you didn't see, the hidden assets, private deals, courtroom battles, and backroom contracts, tells a story you were never meant to hear. Today, we expose the real game behind Jamaica's fastest women, the silent investments, the media manipulation, the legacy battles, and the #1 female athlete in Jamaica whose secret life of wealth, power, and redemption might just shock you. Let's get into it. Brianna Williams wasn't just fast, she was calculated. At just 17, she sprinted into global headlines as a double world under-20 champion. Fans compared her to Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, her mentor, and the world saw a star in the making. But behind that blazing speed was a teenage girl already building something far bigger than a highlight reel. At 18, while most athletes were still figuring out contracts, Brianna made a power move. She bought her first home in Florida. No flashy announcement. No TV special. Just quiet ownership. It was a signal. She wasn't here just to run. She was here to own her lane, literally. Endorsement deals with Nike and Grace Kennedy padded her income early. But unlike others, she didn't flaunt her earnings. Instead, she reinvested in fashion, wellness, and fitness, slowly crafting a brand that could outlast track seasons. But her rise wasn't without shock. In 2019, a banned diuretic showed up in her system, a moment that could have shattered her before her career even began. The medication had been used to treat a cold, and the panel found no intentional wrongdoing. Still, the headlines were brutal. A teenager under global scrutiny. But instead of crumbling, Brianna learned a painful lesson: guard your name like it's currency. From that moment, she pulled back. Interviews became rare. Social media filtered. Her personal life, relationships, and family ties locked behind the starting blocks. While fans cheered her races, Brianna was already racing ahead in another arena, the business of image control. And as she turned pressure into power, the next woman on this list was doing the exact opposite, embracing her childhood trauma, turning a nickname she once hated into an international brand. But that wasn't the whole story. Katia Shaw never wanted the spotlight. But it found her anyway. From the rough streets of Spanish Town to the glitzy stadiums of the Women's Super League, Shaw exploded onto the world stage, not as a sprinter, but as Jamaica's all-time leading goal scorer in football. Her finishing was clinical, her rise, unstoppable. Contracts, awards, a Manchester City deal that turned her into a household name. But buried beneath the headlines is a truth she rarely shares. Before the trophies, there was a nickname, Bunny, given by her older brother because of her teeth and her love of carrots. It hurt, she cried. She begged for it to stop. And yet today, Bunny is stitched across her jersey, brand logos, and international interviews. What once brought shame became her signature. She didn't run from it, she redefined it. Off the pitch, Shaw carries more than expectation. She's the youngest of 13 siblings and the financial backbone of her family. When racial abuse erupted online in 2025, Manchester City publicly defended her, but no statement could shield her from the scars. She absorbed the hate quietly, just like she absorbed pressure on the field, with unflinching focus. Her career has been disrupted by injuries, exhaustion, and constant transatlantic travel. Long flights, short recoveries, minimal rest. The wear and tear doesn't just show in her body, it shows in her eyes. And yet, she keeps showing up. What the cameras don't catch is the money she puts into girls' football programs across Jamaica, or the quiet investments in property and community work that stack wealth far from headlines. While others post private jets, Bunny posts purpose, but even resilience has limits. Because when abuse, injury, and pressure collide, something cracks. And the next athlete on our list knows exactly how that feels. She didn't just face a fall from grace, she faced a courtroom that threatened to erase everything she worked for. And what happened? Next would shock everyone. Kyron Simpson ran with fire in her legs and secrets in her shadow. She was one of Jamaica's golden girls. Olympic gold in the 4x 100 meters relay in Athens 2004. A silver in Beijing 2008. Commonwealth titles, records, applause. But all of it nearly vanished in a single breath when, in 2013, she tested positive for a banned stimulant, oxylifrine. The news hit like a thunderclap. A world-class sprinter, flagged for a substance she claimed came from a supplement introduced by a new trainer. She insisted she'd researched it. But the panel wasn't convinced. Her biggest mistake? She hadn't listed it on her doping control forms. The punishment: 18 months off the track. Legacy under attack. She appealed, fought, refused to go quietly. In the end, the Court of Arbitration for Sport reduced her ban to 6 months. It was a small win, but the damage had been done. Media headlines didn't soften. Fans questioned everything. And yet, she came back, not with anger, but with purpose. In 2016, Kieran shocked the athletics world again, not with a medal, but with a baby girl named Leanna. For most athletes, childbirth means the end. But Kyron returned to competition just 2 years later, proving that motherhood wasn't a pause, it was a power-up. She ran in 2018, she competed in 2019, she walked away on her terms. Today, Simpson is remembered not just for her speed, but for her resilience. She curated a refined public image, graceful gowns, red carpets, confident smiles. But behind it all was a woman who beat shame, silence, and stereotypes, and chose her own ending. Her secret? She didn't wait to be forgiven. She took back the pen and rewrote the script. But while Kyron chose to fight and reclaim her identity, the next woman on our list made a decision that divided a nation, switching national flags to keep her dream alive, and the backlash was instant. Merlene. Audie wasn't just a sprinter, she was a dynasty. For nearly 3 decades, her name was gospel in global track and field. 7 Olympic Games, dozens of world championship medals, and a presence that refused to fade. She wasn't a moment, she was an era. But even queens face storms. In 1999, Audie's legacy was nearly shattered when she tested positive for nandrolone, a banned anabolic steroid. The headlines screamed disgrace. Sponsors backed away. Sporting officials whispered betrayal. But Audie wasn't ready to bow out. She fought the results, pointing to inconsistencies in the testing process. Legal appeals, press conferences, procedural wars. The fight was exhausting. And just when the public thought they'd seen the last of her, she made a move no one saw coming. In 2002, Audie switched citizenship from Jamaica to Slovenia. For some, it felt like treason. For others, it was survival. She was aging. Jamaica had younger stars. The system that once crowned her now looked past her. But Slovenia? It gave her freedom. New sponsorships, European media contracts, appearance fees, coaching clinics. She didn't just run under a new flag. She turned it into a brand expansion. Audie found a second wind where no one expected it. Behind the scenes, she crafted business alliances. She mentored young athletes in private. She negotiated ambassador roles that kept her name profitable long after the medals stopped. While Jamaica debated her loyalty, Europe booked her solid. To them, she was still a legend, and now a lucrative one. Her name, her image, her story still sold tickets. Still inspired, still paid. But Merlene Audie's biggest secret wasn't the flag change or the longevity. It was how she turned controversy into currency and never apologized for choosing herself. And while Audie weathered her storm in silence, the next queen on our list walked into scandal with cameras already rolling, and somehow turned it into a masterclass in redemption. What happened next changed everything. Veronica Campbell Brown was the face of sprinting royalty, 2 Olympic golds in the 200 meters, multiple world championship medals, podium after podium. She was elegance in motion, Jamaica's queen of consistency. Brands chased her. Promoters paid top dollar just to have her appear. But in 2013, everything changed in the blink of a test tube. She tested positive for a banned diuretic at a local meet. A cream she said she'd declared. A substance that wasn't meant to enhance anything, just treat a condition. Still, the Federation moved fast. She was suspended. The shock was seismic. Veronica wasn't just an athlete. She was a national treasure. And yet, she found herself on the defensive. The Jamaican Athletics Association gave her a public warning. But the IAF wasn't satisfied. They escalated the case to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Suddenly, the world was questioning everything. Was she cheating? Or was she just careless? Either way, her image took a hit. Sponsors went silent. Contracts stalled. Speaking gigs dried up. For a moment, it looked like her empire might crumble. But Veronica wasn't done. She didn't cry foul. She didn't rant. She recalibrated. She leaned into mentorship. Built clinics for young girls. Rebranded herself as a wellness advocate. She started making fewer public appearances, but when she did, they meant something. Every interview, every quote, every post was deliberate and powerful. Behind the scenes, she shifted focus to long-term partnerships. The kind that don't vanish after a bad news cycle. Speaking tours, health campaigns, investments. She didn't just clean up her name, she made it stronger. That's Veronica's secret. She didn't run from scandal, she ran through it. And somehow she came out the other side with more respect than before. But while Veronica was rebuilding, the next athlete was quietly waiting in the shadows, plotting a move that would rewrite not just her legacy, but the entire sprinting hierarchy. And what she did next left the world stunned. For years, Shericka Jackson was the woman just behind the spotlight. Overshadowed by names like Shelly Ann Fraser-Price and Elaine Thompson-Herah, she was the dependable 400-meter runner, strong, steady, but rarely center stage. She collected bronze medals like clockwork, praised for her work ethic, but never branded as Jamaica's next big thing until 2021. That's when Shericka did the unthinkable. She walked away from the 400 meters and stepped into the blazing arena of the 100 and 200. A bold move, a risky one, but within months, she shattered expectations, clocking times that made history. In the 200 meters, she became the second fastest woman in history. The world finally saw what she'd been holding back, but her success came at a cost. Insiders whisper that Jackson's sudden rise stirred tension within Jamaica's elite sprinting camp. Relay lineups were quietly reshuffled. Training schedules were adjusted. Some didn't like how quickly she became the new face of women's sprinting. Egos clashed. Smiles became strained. Behind the medals was a cold war playing out, one of jealousy, control, and shifting loyalties. Shericka never addressed it publicly. She didn't have to. Her running spoke louder than any headline, but what most fans still don't know is how quietly calculated she is with her wealth. While other athletes flash luxury cars and designer brands, Shericka operates in silence. Real estate in Kingston, private business ventures, tech partnerships. Insiders say she funnels appearance fees into long-term investments, wealth that won't vanish with a pulled hamstring. And then there's the moment that nearly broke her. Tokyo 2020, the 200-meter heats. Jackson jogged the final meters thinking she had qualified. She didn't. She was eliminated. Critics mocked her. Memes exploded. Headlines ridiculed the blunder. But instead of spiraling, she turned humiliation into fuel. She trained harder, focused deeper, and came back with world titles and record-breaking times. That's Shericka's secret weapon. She weaponizes failure. But while Shericka was quietly building her empire, the next woman on our list traded spikes for speeches and entered a whole new race, one filled with power, politics, and controversy. And what she revealed in Parliament stunned everyone. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn didn't just retire. She reinvented 2 Olympic silvers, 1 bronze, an icon of the 90s. On the track, she was electric, lean, lethal, and always a podium threat. But instead of fading into coaching or commentary like many athletes do, Juliet did something no one expected. She ran for office and won. That's right. Jamaica's sprint queen became a parliamentarian. Her transition was seamless. Voters already knew her. They had chanted her name in stadiums. Now they put it on the ballot. And when she stepped into Jamaica's House of Representatives, she carried more than medals. She carried momentum. Her fame translated into influence. Her discipline turned into policy. And her public goodwill gave her a head start most politicians could only dream of. But she didn't play it safe. Juliet made headlines when she openly supported the decriminalization of abortion in Jamaica, a deeply controversial issue in a highly conservative nation. The backlash was fierce. Religious groups accused her of betraying Christian values. Social media exploded. Her legacy as an athlete was weaponized against her, and then she dropped a bombshell, revealing that she herself had undergone an abortion at 19. It was personal, raw, unfiltered, and it polarized the country. Her critics saw a scandal. Her supporters saw courage. But no one could deny this. Juliet wasn't afraid to lead. She exposed corruption in the health system. She challenged party lines. She walked into fire with her head high. And every time her name trended, for the right reasons or the wrong ones, her power grew. Behind the scenes, her political salary was just the beginning. She gained access to networks, contracts, and opportunities that stretched far beyond the public's view. Juliet turned track fame into governmental leverage, and she's still climbing. But while she built power in plain sight, the next woman on our list built an empire in silence. She never needed cameras, never chased headlines, yet today, she writes million-dollar checks like it's nothing, and her story just might be the most surprising of all. Trisha Bailey doesn't run races anymore. She runs empires. Her name isn't always mentioned in the same breath as Olympic gold or world records, but make no mistake, she's one of the wealthiest women in Jamaican history. And what makes her story so powerful is how few people saw it coming. Bailey began as a standout student athlete at the University of Connecticut. No reality show, no viral moment, just grit. After college, she pivoted into the medical world, not as a doctor, but as a disruptor. She built companies that supplied hospitals with critical equipment, staffing, and services. And as the healthcare industry expanded, her fortune multiplied. But Trisha didn't flash it. No paparazzi. No yachts. No Instagram page filled with Louis Vuitton and champagne. Instead, she bought silence, power, and long-term wealth. She reinvested her earnings into more companies, more contracts, more influence. The public barely noticed. Until she made a move too massive to ignore. She donated millions to the very university where it all began, UConn. The Bailey Student Athlete Success Center, a state-of-the-art facility bearing her name. Overnight, everyone asked the same question. Who is Trisha Bailey? The answer? A survivor, a strategist, a silent billionaire in the making. Bailey has spoken openly about surviving abuse, poverty, and trauma. But instead of letting it define her, she flipped the script. She now uses her pain to fuel her purpose, building scholarships, mentoring students, funding women's initiatives both in the U.S. and Jamaica. She doesn't need fame. She doesn't chase clout. She builds quietly, gives boldly, and wins without ever stepping on a track. And while Trisha Bailey's wealth was built far from the cameras, the next woman on our list lived her triumph and her chaos in the global spotlight. She was the fastest woman alive. Until the real race began, Elaine Thompson-Herah wasn't just fast, she was fire. Back-to-back Olympic doubles in Rio and Tokyo. Gold in the 100 and 200 meters. She didn't just beat the competition, she outran legends. For a brief moment in time, she wasn't just Jamaica's queen, she was the fastest woman alive. Her 10:61-second finish in Tokyo 2020 silenced every critic. Her brand value skyrocketed. Puma threw millions behind her. Diamond League winnings stacked. Bonuses from the Jamaican Olympic Association flowed. Elaine became a multimillionaire seemingly overnight. But the medals? They didn't tell the whole story. Behind every sprint was pain. Years of fighting Achilles and hamstring injuries. Doctors doubted she'd even make it to Tokyo in one piece. Her training was grueling. Her body? Held together by therapy, injections, and sheer willpower. And after the Tokyo triumph, everything fell apart. She left MVP Track Club, left her legendary coach, Stephen Francis, and the fallout shook the sport. Elaine claimed the team no longer believed in her. Francis fired back, publicly questioning her professionalism. Rumors of mismanagement, broken trust, and money disputes began to swirl. Suddenly, the woman who'd conquered the world was at war with the very camp that helped build her. And that was just the beginning. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about financial chaos, disagreements with her former agent, delayed payments, contracts lost in the shuffle. Her endorsement pipeline slowed. Sponsors, once eager to plaster her face on billboards, grew hesitant in the shadow of the turmoil, so she took control. Elaine quietly restructured her management team, reclaimed her image, fought to steady her brand. But the damage had been done. The smiling face on magazine covers now carried the weight of betrayal, burnout, and backroom battles. She remains a legend. But her story is no longer just about speed. It's about survival. And while Elaine ran from chaos, the next woman on our list ran toward destiny. A teenager born in 2004, raised in the shadow of giants, now carrying the hopes of a nation, and her pressure? It's just beginning. Tina Clayton was born for the spotlight, but no one warned her how heavy it would be. She blazed through the junior ranks with speed that defied her age. Back-to-back gold medals at the World Under-20 Championships. A jaw-dropping 10.95 seconds in the 100 meters. She wasn't just fast, she was inevitable. Jamaica had seen sprint prodigies before, but Tina was different. Cleaner form, cooler nerves, a smile that masked the storm. But there was always a shadow beside her, her twin sister, Tia. Early headlines paired them like a fairy tale. The fastest twins in the world. But behind the medals and matching uniforms were quiet tensions. Tina often edged out her sister in the finals. And the comparisons? They never stopped. Every victory came with a silent cost, being measured not just against legends, but against blood. As Tina moved from junior to senior level, the pressure amplified. Expectations tripled, and so did the scrutiny. Her body changed. Her starts became shaky. In 2024, she faltered in key finals. Not because she lacked speed, but because the mental weight of a nation was on her shoulders. Every blink, every false start, every misstep sparked online speculation. Was she fading? Was she ready? Could she carry the baton from Elaine, from Shelly-Ann? And yet, in 2025, Tina answered. She clocked a blistering 10.81 seconds to win the Jamaican championships. It wasn't just a win, it was a warning. A signal that the next generation had arrived. But Tina's true strength isn't just her speed, it's her silence. She shares almost nothing about her personal life. No relationship gossip. No behind-the-scenes drama. Just the occasional training video, a proud family moment, and a quiet determination that speaks louder than interviews ever could. She's not chasing legacy. She's building it, but as the world watches Tina rise, there's one name she, and every Jamaican athlete, still bows to. A woman who turned medals into millions. And millions into mystery. And when you hear her story, you'll understand why no one outruns her. Not on the track, not in business, and definitely not in influence. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce isn't just a sprinter. She's a symbol,